In the second episode of the season, titled Need vs. Greed, the group's plan to distribute the product to sell in as many different areas is in motion, but not without a few initial disagreement. Tariq and Brayden can't seem to agree where to sell the drugs, with Brayden suggesting that sell to the snobby employees at the Weston Family Company, something Tariq is extremely against. This moment is one of many that plays into the episode's theme of need versus greed. Are decisions made to fulfill a critical need or to indulge in a desire? What are the consequences of doing or not doing something? It's clear that Tariq and Brayden generally stand on opposite ends of this concept, but because their lives are at risk with Noma, their short-term needs are more aligned, which help them to come to an agreement on how to move forward in the episode. Elsewhere, Effie tries to find her footing on need versus greed, while Lorenzo challenges Kane to take the top spot, and to his surprise, Kane does just that. Lauren has a big decision to make, but her choice may not be needed because Jenny Sullivan, Cooper Sachs, and Blanca Rodriguez are building quite the case against them. Tariq and Brayden are best friends, there's no doubt about that. They've had great moments together and they've had sour ones too. Though they have plenty of similarities, Tariq and Brayden both have big differences that play into the need versus greed theme of this week's episode. As the show presented it, Tariq needed to sell drugs to fund his mother's case to get her out of prison. He needed to continue doing it to stay on Monet's good side, and now he needs to do it to avoid being killed by Noma. Sure, Brayden also needs to sell the drugs now in order to not be killed by Noma, but from the very start, Brayden's participation in the game was by choice. He joined after getting a thrill from the moment and figuring out that he was kind of good at it. So it's understandable why Brayden is nonchalant in his ask to move some of Mecca's drugs within the Weston family office, and it's understandable why Tariq is so against it. When Brayden took the fall in Tariq's drug case, it resulted with him getting a six-figure job, while it would have put Tariq in jail if he was convicted. The risk is higher for Tariq, which makes fulfilling his needs and nothing more, all that more important. Brayden's greed could help them reach new levels, but it could also hurt them a lot, especially when it involves shaking hands with Rashad Tate.
This is the moment that Kane has been waiting for since the first season of Power Book 2, Ghost. He played by the rules and broke them in hopes of claiming the next-in-line crown for the family drug organization. He was loyal in some moments and deceitful in others, and yet it didn't work out in his favor until now. Following Lorenzo's direct orders, Kane figures out who murdered Zeke, that being Lorenzo, and uses this discovery to blackmail his dad into moving some of the product that Noma has directed him, Tariq, Kane, and Brayden to distribute. Kane has had several master plans in his attempt to put himself in position to take over the family business, and while most of them more or less failed prior to this episode, it didn't stop him from coming up with a new one and trying again. At long last, he's got everyone right where he wants there, and now, it's time to begin the next phase. You think that a murderer like Lorenzo, whether it be accidental or not, would do a better job of not bringing attention to himself. Throughout Need vs. Greed, he taunts and degrades Kane by citing the numerous reasons he can't trust. Lorenzo then suggests that the only way Kane can gain his trust back to maybe become the one to take on the family drug empire is to find Zeke's killer, but the gag is Lorenzo killed Zeke. It was this moment that we truly see that Lorenzo has no desire to pass the torch to Kane, but we also see how greatly Lorenzo underestimates Kane. Sure, Kane has messed up numerous times over the course of Power Book 2, Ghost, and sure, Kane and Lorenzo may not see eye to eye, but this moment showed how much Lorenzo favored all his other children above Kane. Nonetheless, a handful of scenes later, Kane confronts Lorenzo by calling him Zeke's killer, and though Lorenzo tries to deny it, Kane successfully gets Lorenzo to admit it. Lorenzo played with fire, but couldn't handle the burns, and now he's under Kane's blackmail-driven command, and who knows where that will lead him to. If Lorenzo was smart, he would have done everything in his power, no pun intended, to keep the attention and eyes off him.
In the beginning of the episode 3, we saw the moment how Lauren survived her murder from Effie. Effie, after taking Lauren from Brayden, knocked her off and placed unconscious Lauren into a car and pushed it into a river. An unknown man on a stroll in the hood saw the car sinking and hence called 911 to come to Lauren's rescues, who is currently in a witness protection and in the care of Jenny Sullivan to build her case to bring everyone involved in this operation down. Effie is trying to find her footing in this new dynamic between her Tariq, Brayden, and Kane. She doesn't seem as greedy as Brayden, but she is a bit more needy than Tariq, as she needs any and all the drug money she can get in order to pay her school fees at Stansfield. We've known Effie to have an all-business no-play approach, so it's no surprise that we see her roll her eyes at Tariq and Brayden's discussions about their plans, blowing up, and the luxury cars they'll purchase with the money they had. This has never been a come-up to Effie. It's damn near life or death for her. Unlike Tariq and Brayden, if all else fails, there's not much she can lean on. Brayden has his extremely rich family and Tariq could look to Monet for help. With Effie, her resources are the thinnest out of the group. So when we see her contemplate the relaunch of Course Correct behind Tariq and Brayden's back, you can kind of understand it. Or when we see her pressure Brayden into keeping quiet about their attempt to kill Lauren, which we know failed, you can also understand it.
We have to tell him about Lauren, like, now.
Fuck up, Brayden, are you fucking crazy?
What, are we just gonna lie to him for the rest of our lives? You said it yourself. We're his family, we're all he has.
Exactly. And we did what we had to do to protect him. How does him finding out help anything?
While this episode leaves us to contemplate need versus greed, Ellie finds herself on both sides. Her greed is nearly synonymous with her needs, and it protects her from damage that no other character will feel if things go wrong. With all that being said, Effie needs to be greedy, and with the way things are looking just 2 episodes in, it seems like it's not if things will go wrong, but when.